At 67, Ellen DeGeneres is living in self-imposed exile thousands of miles from Hollywood. The woman who once commanded America's living rooms every afternoon now tends to horses in the English countryside, her empire reduced to ashes. But recent revelations suggest her downfall was even darker than anyone imagined. Fresh accusations have surfaced, painting a picture of someone far removed from the be-kind persona that made her famous. From toxic workplace scandals to legal battles, Ellen's story has taken twists that would shock even her most devoted fans. What really happened to the queen of daytime television? Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just a talk show host, she was a cultural phenomenon. For 19 years, the Ellen DeGeneres Show dominated daytime television, racking up dozens of Emmy Awards and making Ellen one of the most influential figures in entertainment. Her "Be Kind" mantra became a global movement, and celebrities lined up to dance on her stage. The show generated billions in revenue, turning Ellen into one of the wealthiest women in Hollywood with a net worth exceeding $400 million. But behind the scenes, a completely different story was unfolding. In July 2020, BuzzFeed published a devastating investigation that shattered Ellen's carefully crafted image. 36 current and former employees came forward with allegations that would destroy everything she'd built. They described a workplace dominated by fear, where racism and intimidation were everyday occurrences. Staff members claimed they were forbidden from speaking to Ellen if they encountered her around the office, creating an atmosphere of terror that contradicted everything the show represented. The accusations were explosive. Employees alleged that executive producers created a culture where sexual harassment thrived, with specific claims against multiple senior staff members. Workers said they were afraid to take medical leave, with one employee claiming they were reprimanded for starting a GoFundMe for medical expenses because it might damage Ellen's brand. The hypocrisy was staggering. A show built on kindness was allegedly run like a dictatorship. Ellen's initial response was defensive, claiming she was shocked by the allegations. But the damage was irreversible. Advertisers began pulling out, ratings plummeted, and the woman who had preached kindness for 2 decades found herself labeled as one of Hollywood's most toxic bosses. The investigation triggered an internal probe by Warner Media, leading to the firing of 3 executive producers. But for Ellen, it was already too late. Just when the world thought Ellen's toxic workplace story was over, new allegations emerged in 2024 that made the original scandal look tame. A former cameraman who worked on the show for years broke his silence, revealing disturbing details about Ellen's alleged behavior that had never been made public. According to this insider, Ellen had a particular problem with male employees, systematically cycling through male staff members each season in what he described as a pattern of discrimination. The most chilling revelation centered around what crew members secretly called the Ellen gaze. Former employees described it as a look of pure menace. Ellen would narrow her eyes and her cheekbones would jut out, creating an expression one staffer compared to a queen searching for her next execution. The mere sight of this look would reportedly send staff members into panic mode, knowing that their jobs could be in jeopardy. But the allegations went beyond intimidating stares. The cameraman claimed that Ellen became particularly hostile when male crew members interacted with her wife, Portia de Rossi. Despite Portia being described as kind and approachable, employees lived in terror of being seen talking to her, fearing Ellen's wrath. "You just hoped and prayed you weren't seated by her wife, so you didn't get her attention," the former employee revealed. Perhaps most shocking was the claim that Ellen pressured a high-ranking producer to reschedule his child's bone marrow transplant surgery to accommodate the show's taping schedule. Former writer Greg Fitzsimmons corroborated the toxic environment, describing Ellen as a control freak and revealing there was a lot of crying in the hallways. These fresh accusations painted Ellen not as someone who was unaware of workplace issues, but as an active participant in creating a culture of fear and intimidation that extended far beyond what was previously known. After lying low for years, Ellen attempted a comeback in 2024 with what she called her last stand-up tour, a series of comedy shows that would supposedly address the scandals head-on. But instead of showing accountability, Ellen's return revealed someone completely disconnected from reality. During her performances, she brazenly told audiences, "I got kicked out of show business for being mean," before adding with disturbing casualness, "Next time I'll be kicked out for being old, gay, and mean. The Triple Crown." The tour was Ellen's attempt to rewrite history, positioning herself as a victim rather than acknowledging the pain her alleged actions had caused. She claimed the accusations were part of a misogynistic backlash, completely ignoring the dozens of employees who had shared their traumatic experiences. Her jokes about being kicked out for being mean minimized serious allegations of workplace abuse and discrimination. The culmination of this tone-deaf comeback was her Netflix special, Ellen DeGeneres for Your Approval, released in September 20. The special was supposed to be Ellen's final word on the controversy, but it backfired spectacularly. Critics and audiences were appalled by her lack of genuine remorse and her attempts to make light of serious workplace abuse allegations. The special received scathing reviews, with many noting that Ellen seemed more concerned about her public image than the harm allegedly caused to her employees. During the tour, Ellen made a shocking declaration that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. "This is the last time you're going to see me. After my Netflix special, I'm done." It was a dramatic exit strategy from someone who realized her reputation was beyond repair. But even this supposedly final goodbye felt calculated and manipulative, designed to generate sympathy rather than provide closure for those she'd allegedly wronged. As if Ellen's reputation couldn't sink any lower, 2024 and 2025 brought a series of legal troubles that added another layer of controversy to her already tarnished legacy. The most serious accusation came in the form of a lawsuit filed in 2025, where a Tesla driver claimed Ellen ran a stop sign and T-boned her vehicle in Santa Barbara County back in October 2023. The plaintiff alleged that Ellen entered the intersection without stopping, causing injuries that required medical attention. The timing of this lawsuit was particularly damaging, coming just as Ellen was trying to reinvent herself through her comedy tour. The accident allegedly occurred during the height of her comeback planning, suggesting that even as she was preparing to address her past behavior, new incidents were occurring. The plaintiff's legal team painted a picture of someone who believed rules didn't apply to her, a characterization that aligned perfectly with the workplace allegations. But the legal troubles extended beyond car accidents. Multiple former employees hinted at potential lawsuits related to the toxic workplace allegations, though most were likely resolved through non-disclosure agreements. Industry insiders suggested that Warner Bros. Had quietly settled numerous claims to avoid further damaging publicity. Ellen's legal team worked overtime to manage these various threats, but each new allegation chipped away at any remaining public goodwill. The car accident lawsuit was particularly damaging because it suggested a pattern of disregard for others that extended beyond the workplace. Legal experts noted that the timing of the lawsuit, filed well after Ellen had relocated to the UK, suggested the plaintiff had been building a strong case. These mounting legal pressures added urgency to Ellen's decision to leave the United States permanently, as staying would have meant facing these battles in American courts where her reputation had been irreparably damaged. The 2024 presidential election became Ellen's perfect excuse for a dramatic exit from American public life. When Donald Trump won re-election, Ellen and Portia de Rossi announced they were making their move to England permanent. But insiders knew this had nothing to do with politics and everything to do with Ellen's destroyed reputation. The couple had actually purchased their Cotswolds property months before the election, suggesting the move was planned regardless of the outcome. Ellen's timing was calculated and convenient. By framing her departure as a political protest, she avoided admitting that she was fleeing the consequences of her actions. In interviews, she claimed that she and Portia got here the day before the election and woke up to lots of text from our friends with crying emojis, painting themselves as devastated Democrats seeking refuge from Trump's America. But the truth was far more self-serving. Ellen had burned every bridge in Hollywood, and staying in America meant facing constant reminders of her fall from grace. The UK offered something she desperately needed: anonymity and distance from the industry that had rejected her. British media, while interested in celebrity gossip, lacked the deep investment in Ellen's story that American outlets maintained. The move also provided Ellen with a ready-made narrative that portrayed her as principled rather than defeated. She could claim moral high ground while actually running from accountability. Friends in the industry weren't fooled. Many noted that Ellen had previously hosted Trump on her show in 2004 and had only become politically vocal when it served her image. Ellen's political positioning was the final act of someone who had spent decades crafting public personas that served her interests. The Trump excuse gave her cover for what was really a strategic retreat from a country where her name had become synonymous with hypocrisy and workplace abuse. Ellen's new life in the English countryside reads like a cautionary tale of fallen celebrity. The woman who once commanded audiences of millions now spends her days tending to horses and trying to blend into rural British society. But even in exile, controversy follows her. Their £15 million Cotswolds property has been flooded multiple times, leading to speculation that Ellen's property research was as poor as her public relations strategy. The couple's attempt at a quiet country life has been anything but smooth. Local residents report seeing Ellen looking uncomfortable and out of place, a far cry from the confident television personality who once ruled American daytime. Portia appears to be adapting better, frequently photographed riding horses through the countryside, living what Ellen described as her dream. But for Ellen, the isolation seems to be taking its toll. Recent property moves suggest their UK adventure isn't going as planned. In 2025, they announced they were selling their country home after less than a year, raising questions about their commitment to their new life. Real estate experts noted that quick property turnovers often indicate buyers' remorse or financial pressure. The sale also sparked rumors that Ellen might be considering a return to America, though her legal troubles make that unlikely. Ellen's social media presence has become increasingly desperate, with forced cheerfulness that fails to mask her obvious discomfort. Photos of rainbow sightings and countryside walks feel performative, as if she's trying to convince herself as much as her followers that she's found peace. Industry insiders report that Ellen has been quietly reaching out to former colleagues, testing the waters for a potential return to entertainment. The reality is that Ellen's exile feels more like a prison sentence than a voluntary retreat. She's trapped between a country that's rejected her and a new homeland where she doesn't truly belong.